This conference will now be recorded.
It is 6 o'clock. We've got a quorum. This meeting will come to order of the Rome City Council for November the 10th. And start out with our invocation, and that's Pastor Van Zant's with us tonight.
You'll bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank for this day, and I thank for allowing us to be able to come here and discuss the future of this city. Lord, I pray that you'll please just allow us to make wise decisions, and I pray that you'll please just allow us to go beyond our own human intellect. I pray that you'll please just divinely move in the affairs of this city. I pray that you'll please just be with each city council member, the interim city administrator, as well as the mayor, and I pray that you'll please just allow us to come to an agreement that is the betterment for the city and for the future of the city as well. Lord, I pray that you'll please just be with our first responders as well, and I pray that you'll please just be with each individual person that is out there taking care of the city. And Lord, I pray that you'll please just allow them to go home tonight to their families safely. Lord, I pray that you'll please just be with our veterans as well, as Veterans Day is approaching. Lord, and I pray that you'll please just allow us to be very thankful for what they've done for us. And it's just a great act of service, and we're certainly thankful for that. And Lord, I pray that you'll please just allow us to give back to our veterans. Lord, I pray this in Jesus' name.
The United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. And I'm tickled pink to see so many new faces for us. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right, we'll move on to public comments. The council is not permitted to take action on or discuss any comments made to the council at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. However, a council member or mayor may make a statement of fact regarding the item, make a statement concerning the policy regarding the item, and or propose that the item be placed on a future agenda, or direct the city administrator to contact the individual to address. If you are attending the meeting via live streaming and you would like to make a public comment, you must email the city secretary at citysecretary@cityofrome.com prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, and must identify each subject you plan to present to be recognized. If the writer of a public comment is unable to read their own comment, it should be given to a friend, family member, or associate that is able to attend in person and read the statement in their stead. Public comments made in person require the speaker to submit the sign-up form to the city secretary prior to the meeting, and the form must identify each subject the speaker plans to present. A statement of no more than 3 minutes may be made. There will be no yielding of time to another person. Comments should be directed to the entire council, not individual members. Engaging in verbal attacks or comments intended to insult, abuse, malign, or slander any individuals shall be cause for termination of time privileges and removal from council chambers. Okay.
First up, we have Steve Knight.
Good evening. I am Steve Knight, and I live at 1313 Prairie Point Drive in the Ellis Homestead. The following represents only my personal thoughts. I want to start with thanking the City Council that approved the city budget for 21-22, which included additional funding for street repairs to the streets within the Ellis Homestead. In the 2020-2021 budget, the same additional funding for street repairs was approved for the Bywell Estates streets. Both projects have now been completed, and both neighborhoods should have better roads for several more years. While this method is not the most desirable, it is the most cost-effective. given the limited funds the city can come up with without passing a bond to fix them with a better process that would last longer but cost many times as much. There was a bond put forth to the voters that was soundly defeated a few years back. Thanks to an interlocal agreement with Wise County Precinct 3, we only had to pay for material used, and they provided the manpower and equipment. This made the street repairs, I believe, the best way to go to save major expenses in the next few years, as both Biowell and Ellis had roads that were deteriorating to the point of becoming gravel roads within the next very few years. The chip seal process does leave the roads with a layer of loose small rocks and some dust that many have complained about, but most all of this has been improved greatly just a couple days ago when they spent a day sweeping and picking up as much as possible the loose rocks. I was home that day and watched them do this and saw how careful they were to not impact anyone's property if possible. They had a water truck spraying water on the roads to try and keep the dust down as best as they could, and they were sweeping all the rock towards the center of the road and picking it up and hauling it off the excess. For that, I want to extend my deepest thanks to them. Wise County Precinct 3, great job. We now have streets that hopefully will last longer until we can grow enough and start a process of fixing and replacing all city streets over the next many years. I also want to thank our interim city administrator, Mr. Eric DeBus, as he has oversought this process and has probably had numerous phone calls from citizens with both their concerns and complaints. I only hope my neighbors come to realize that if the city would have done nothing, our paved roads would have turned into potholes and gravel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Next we have Lisa Wilson by Joanne Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and those in attendance. Topics are mayoral duties, transparency, code of conduct, oath of office, and closed sessions. The current mayor was elected last May. Ever since then, she has had nothing but roadblocks along her way. Let her do what the law allows her to do and stop changing ordinances to exclude her in the decision making. A majority of voters elected her because we felt she would make smart choices and be mindful of the needs of the city and the citizens' pocketbook. Transparency should always be apparent to the citizens, and the mayor should always be kept informed of what is happening in our city every day and let her give her input. Citizens trust her, and the council should do the same. Transparency has not been evident in recent years. A petition asking for the mayor pro tem to step down was presented to the mayor and council recently. Where is the transparency in letting the public know what happened to this petition? It seems that the governing body is only transparent when it fits their needs. Code of conduct, that was written up at a costly amount by some of the council. With the exception of the last paragraph, it's just the golden rule: do what's right. This ordinance applies to council and city employees 24 hours a day, especially on social media. Recently, we have some, not all, calling their constituents liars on social media. In my opinion, that is totally unacceptable. Wow, this expensive ordinance was definitely a waste of time and money. Also, it appears that those who put it together don't follow it. Closed sessions, which are always behind closed doors, and citizens are not privy to what, and we can only assume that these meetings are civil. But we wonder as we see comments on social media and in the press. Waiver of confidence on the agenda tonight. Why is it just now being presented? Why was this not done at the first of the conflict? And again, how much is this going to cost our city? oath of office. All of you took an oath to follow laws. Do what is right and represent all citizens. Do not just represent the ones you have shown on social media and proclaimed as family. When discussing these topics tonight, Shanna says I have to quit. So y'all got the gist of it, and do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, or thank you to Ms. Wilson.
Next, we have Mike Martucci.
Council members, mayor, other staff, I appreciate you letting me speak tonight. I'm Mike Martucci at 1109 Mount Lane in Ellis Homestead. I guess I'm the newbie here. My wife and family and I have been here since June of this year. And I want to address the agenda item on tonight's agenda for the roads and just ask for a call to action. I want to leave you guys with three main things. I'll walk through just kind of a timeline of where we're at, what I perceive. Again, these are my own comments. Also, talk about the issues at hand, and then leave you with next steps. I know we're short on time, so I'll bulletize this. But quickly, as far as the timeline goes, roads were addressed at the end of September. I would say a heavy emphasis on gravel was added in grading. When that came in, understand, I don't know the budget that was at hand or what was advised, but I've talked to a lot of different neighbors and found out that that's all that was in the budget. So that may be. Roads were done at that time. I addressed some of my concerns with the interim city administrator, the chief. Also wrote an email to the mayor, and then also talked with Precinct 3. As far as Precinct 3, I was told that at the time, this was all that was in the budget, which was the gravel and grading, and that time and traffic was needed, and also a good couple heavy rains. We had those heavy rains. We've also had heat. We've got a fair amount of traffic that comes through here with school buses and local citizens, but that didn't address the issue. Then in speaking with the chief, I was told, a couple weeks and this would start to cure. We're now at week 5, and to echo Steve's comments earlier, I will say the roads are considerably better now that it's been scraped. But the main issue at hand, and that's one of the things, next bullet point I want to talk about, is all the issues we've been faced with. Our vehicles are constantly dirty. We can't keep them clean with the dust that are still at hand. Filters in the home, completely filthy. My RV filter on the air conditioner was caked in dirt and dust. There's vegetation growing up now between the previous road and the layer of rock that's in the right of way itself. Health issue. When I take my dogs out at night, I can taste the dust in the air. So those that have allergies, I'm sure it's affecting you. Patio furniture is constantly caked in dirt. I didn't expect a dirt road when I moved into Ellis Homestead. As far as things to consider, now that we have scraped this, the gravel is much more compacted now. But I ask that maybe we just consider, if there is, a new budget coming of age with 2023, is there any way we can spray some sort of surfactant down to maybe seal this and be done with it? Appreciate it. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Martucci.
Next, we have Deborah Beecraft.
I'm Deborah Beecraft. I live at 360 West 2nd. First of all, I would like to invite everyone to our Veterans Day ceremony tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the Rhome Veterans Park. And then Saturday, we are having a big celebration, our fundraiser, over at Boyd. It's a big car show, vendors, live music, auctions, raffles, just a good day and something for everybody. We got stuff for the kids and the guys and the women. So we hope everyone will join us. Next, I would like to talk about the budget amendments. We're 6 weeks into the fiscal year, and you're already needing to do a budget amendment for almost $500,000. Wow. If this is to adjust last year's budget, then you did not manage our tax dollars very well. Either way, it seems a gross mismanagement of public funds. And then I would like to know where the hotel motel tax money is, because by the numbers, it's showing a decrease of over $87,000. Last October, there was 87 and change, 87,000, and now there's, I think, $17. And yet we have not done a project that money is allowed to be spent on. So I will be doing an open records request, sorry, to find out where the money is. On the budgets, there was a few things, like it says that the roof replacement at the fire department and public works was covered by insurance, and that's what y'all told us when the roof was done. So why are we moving $22,000 over to take care of it? Insurance is already taking care of it. So there's just really several things in here that on your budget amendments that are really eye-opening and really make a person question what's going on with our finances in the city. And I hope y'all really take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beecraft.
Just to clear some misinformation, the budget line item budget amendments that we will pass through an ordinance, I just want to make sure everybody understands that's money that is moved within the departments and between departments. It is not an increase in the bottom line. I'm happy to say that we were roughly $100,000 under budget last year, not over. So this wasn't extra spent money. This was money that was moved for different reasons. One example would be for the police department. When gasoline went from $2 to almost $5 a gallon, clearly we weren't budgeted for that. I'm about to recognize an officer for his work in saving money in the budget, and we were able to save that money in our equipment side and move some of that equipment money over to our gasoline budget. That's what these line item budget amendments are. These are not asking for more money. These are not spending more money. These are moving money within these line items to make sure that it all evens out. So when the auditor comes, we have an outside auditor come in and look at our books, that they're not starting from a negative perspective in any line item. That's what that means.
Next, we have Shirley Mize.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Mize. I live at 170 Russell Street. The first agenda item that I want to address is concerning the ordinance of 2022 to 20 voted by vetoed by the mayor. I don't quite understand if we don't have things going our direction or our way. So we go and we change the ordinance so we can get that our way. I don't think that's the right way to go for the city of Rome. And I agree with her vetoing it. The next item I want to discuss is the budget amendments. As you were discussing or saying, this doesn't basically add money to our budget, but you move around money that could be carried over to the next year's budget that we could utilize, whether it's our streets, which we do need done very badly in all areas, including my area. And I don't know why that we would do a budget amendment on streets to pay for another bill when we have that budgeted for streets that we need that done very bad. So what we do is we have another wish list that we basically give to utilize this money in a different way or different area. On the governmental code, local governmental code under finances, it clearly states that to amend a budget, the governing body may authorize an emergency expenditure as an amendment to the original budget only in a case of a grave public necessity, to meet an unusual or unforeseen condition that could not have been included on the original budget through the use of reasonable, diligent thought and attention. So are any of these budget amendments emergencies? Are they gray areas? Now, I understand that, hey, we didn't put it on the budget. Okay, so how are we going to pay for it if you didn't put it on your budget? In legal fees alone, we overspent by $18,533.60 based upon this amendment. Also, we had changes as far as apparatus repair and maintenance that we're taking out of fire safety and programs. Hope you understand the gist of this. It needs to be right for Rome.
Next, we have Sam Eason.
Thank you, Mrs. Weiss.
You couldn't hear me last time. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Sam Eason. I live at 1107 Mount Lane. I'm here to discuss Agenda Item K concerning oath of office. Each of our elected officials swore an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, state statutes, and local ordinances. I'd like to review a couple of these. First, the state ordinance on the powers and duties of mayor, paragraph A. The mayor is the chief executive officer of the municipality. The mayor shall at all times actively ensure that the laws and ordinances of the municipality are properly carried out. The mayor shall perform the duties and exercise the powers prescribed by the governing body of the municipality. Let me rephrase that a little bit. The mayor has sworn to carry out the will of the city council. I'll repeat the key phrase from the statute. The mayor shall at all times actively ensure that the laws and ordinances of the municipality are properly carried out. Our city council is responsible for passing and maintaining these laws and ordinances. If the mayor fails to, quote, actively ensure that the laws and ordinances are properly carried out, then the mayor has violated her oath of office. Second, the city ordinance, approval of legal documents. The mayor shall sign, the city secretary shall attest to, and the city attorney shall approve as to form all legal instruments requiring the assent of the city, unless otherwise provided for by law or otherwise stipulated in this code. Let me rephrase this one a little bit for you. The mayor has sworn to sign ordinances, resolution, checks, or anything else necessary to run the city. Again, I'll repeat a key phrase. The mayor shall sign all legal instruments. Should the mayor be available and able to sign these legal instruments, but refuses to sign them, then the mayor has violated her oath of office. I submitted an open records request for all the legal instruments the mayor has refused to sign. There were quite a few. These multiple refusals to sign these legal instruments sure sounds like a violation of the state statute I referenced and the local ordinance referenced. Perhaps the mayor did not understand her oath when she took it. Perhaps the mayor could either start to fulfill her oath or resign her office. And in closing, I'd like to thank all veterans for your service. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, Mr. Eason. Just an addendum to that. I believe on August 4th, the council voted to give equal authority to the mayor pro tem, equal to the mayor. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Next, we have Donna DeGarmo.
Good evening. I'm Donna DeGarmo, 104 Kensington Court here in Rome. And to begin with, I mean, I don't know what, I haven't been here a whole lot these last few meetings, so there is definitely something going on that I don't know about. But one thing that I did learn was there was a change in rules about where the majority is going to have the say versus one person. And I mean, for all the council people that agreed upon that, I think it's wonderful because, I mean, the majority rule is a democracy. Um, and I was going to say, and if one person could just say, well, I don't like what you say, we're not going to do it, that's dictatorship. So we need that democracy more than ever in this day and age. So my applause, I commend everybody that voted for that change. So I don't know how it became eventually or originally, but the change is good in my book. And then I'd like to say thank Julie and so many people from the city. Some of you know my church, I'm with the Rhome United Methodist. We're going to do a carols in the park. We did it last year and had music and some food trucks and yada yada. And it was really good. And it was so nice to meet some of the people that I'd never met before. So we're going to have that again this year. And I would personally like to invite each and every one of you to it. I seemed to invite one guy and told him to bring his wife, but we'll see about that. But anyhow, I mean, it is just fun. It is. We're hoping to have food trucks and we'll light a Christmas tree and sing songs, and it's great. So I hope it's on December the 3rd. So it's from 2 to 7, and it's just good times. So that's my second thing. But anyhow, the city and Julie thanked us because we were having such stress in getting some of the food trucks and things we could do and not do. And I think they've been over backwards to make just about everything possible for us. So, and then last but not least, my broken record, the water situation. Now, this, I don't know how to say this to make it sense, but we raised our sewer to help correct past problems. So won't our sewer budget eventually get to be where we're okay? I mean, we have all these people, our whole town, you know, whoever gets this water bill, they're all paying more money. And so eventually, maybe some consideration can be made to nonprofits or something. I mean, we had the garden at the church, and of course we have to water the garden. We're trying to think of doing rain dances now because our last sewer bill was $309.
Thank you, Mrs. DeGarmo.
And last, we have Ashley Majors.
I thought you guys were going to talk. What you going to talk? During public hearing. Sorry.
All right. Donna, I'll finish that for you. Sorry. I'm Ashley Majors. And to finish Donna DeGarmo's comment, actually, I had a small business tell me, so glad it's a full house tonight. I had a small business tell me the other day that they would rather close up than be here in the city of Rome. So if anybody can visit any of our small businesses, please do so because their water bill is doubled and they only have one toilet. So please go out and visit. So thank you, Donna, for bringing that up. And I was going to bring it up as well. Also, from on one of the agenda items, if we can also look at the item that from the Aurora, $50,000 is what was quoted is not enough. So if we can look to getting more money from that to possibly help, because I even brought something up to that in the morning time that I sit and watch from Dairy Queen, how it backs up to 114 and then the people go around and do U-turns, cut people off just to not want to waiting in the not wanting to wait in the line, and we do not have officers. So if we can get more officers and possibly get more money from Aurora, that would possibly help. If not, we can increase our police budget. But if we can get it from another city, let's do so. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Majors.
That's the end of public comment. All right. The city hall will be closed November the 11th That's tomorrow for Veterans Day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And then Mrs. Beecraft already mentioned her Veterans Day ceremony tomorrow, as well as her Rome Veterans Festival over in Boyd on Saturday. City Hall will be closed November the 24th and the 25th for Thanksgiving. And I'm presuming that we don't have any other council meetings this month since it falls on a Thursday. Okay, so we'll just have one this month. And I think that's it. Anybody else have any announcements? Okay, we'll move on. Discussion and any necessary action regarding the 2022 third quarter Shine Award recipient. I believe that's Officer Stanwyck.
Let's do this again. Well deserved, well deserved. Okay, so here we are again. We did this last council meeting, but now I'm really excited because there's a lot more of you guys here tonight, and that's always a good thing. Let me speak more clearly into this microphone so everybody at home can hear. So our Shine Award recognizes one individual from our city, one employee for basically going above and beyond. And for the Shine, what it stands for is sincerity, honesty, integrity, neighborly, and excellence. And I think this one really does show excellence with his skills, his abilities, and we were able to leverage those skills and abilities to save on the budget that seems to be a hot topic tonight. So let me go ahead and read this Shine Award third quarter 2022. In 2021, the Rome Police Department was approved $80,000 for the purchase of new radios. Rome officers had been using the same radios for several years, and some had resorted to purchasing their own on eBay. Clearly, this situation was a detriment to officer safety and placed the department in a precarious liability standpoint. With the budget approval, work began to find the best equipment that will serve officers for years to come. Officer Mark Stanwyck, being highly knowledgeable about radios and their functioning, was tasked with finding the right equipment. After much research and consultation, Officer Stanwyck found the perfect solution. He selected new models of Kenwood Viking radios that are not only high quality but cost effective. Rome PD was able to acquire all the needed equipment for about half the cost expected. Not only did Officer Stanwyck save money on the equipment, but utilized his knowledge and experience by programming and installing the in-car radios himself. And if you've never done something like that, it takes a high level of technical expertise to do that. So Officer Stanwyck programmed the individual officers' portable radios as well. Through his hard work and diligence, Officer Stanwyck is to be commended for ensuring officer safety through his work on communications as well as the cost savings to the city of Rome. Thank you, Mark, for exhibiting the SHINE principles. And when I say Mark led this project, so it was approved in the budget right before I got here last year, or was already in there, and then it was approved for this year. And to be honest, I'm not a technical guy. You know, if it were me, we'd still be using paper and pen. So when I found out that he did know what he was talking about, I basically turned it over to him. My leadership style is give the staff the tools they need, the information they desire, the training that they require, and then let them go. Just give them the project and let them go. Because in my experience throughout my career, amazing things happen. And that's what happened here. Something amazing happened. He took an $80,000 budget, got us really good radios for all of our cars and all of the officers, programmed them himself, installed them himself, and came in at around half the budget. So it was just an amazing job, and we're really happy to have him. Gotta wait.
I'm honored and humbled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Officer Stanwyck. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. B and C, the minutes of City Council regular session dated October 27th, 2022, and the minutes of City Council regular session dated November 1, 2022. Do we hear a motion?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, how about a second?
I'll second.
Very good. All in favor? Okay. And monthly staff reports and board minutes. Departments, administration, building and development, fire rescue, municipal court, police and public works. Which we got?
Any questions about what was in the packet?
Then we'll move on to public hearing. Been asked to the City Council to conduct a public hearing to consider a replat. One tract being legally described as acres 3.00, abstract A817, JC, also known as 401 East Hickory Street, Rome, Texas 76078. I've been asked to recess this. This. Okay, we got to open it first. We'll open the public hearing at 6:36. And we'll close the public hearing also, or do we recess while it's open? Okay, we're going to recess that until December the 8th. Okay, then we'll close. Now we close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to recess this till December the 8th, 2022 at 6 o'clock p.m. Okay. And now I can close the public session. Very good. And at 6:36, we're closing the public session. All right. F, City Council conduct a public hearing to consider replat. One tract being legally described as acres tract 2-1, 6.81330 acres, also known as 5399 Highway 114, Highway 114, Rome, Texas 76078. And we will open the public hearing at 6:37. Go, come on.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having us. My name is Malcolm Harlan, and I'll let my brother introduce himself.
My name is Niles Harlan. Nice to meet you all. We grew up here. We went to school in Decatur from kindergarten all the way to graduating high school. So if you guys have any questions for us in regards to this, please feel welcome to ask away and we'll answer anything.
Yeah, and I guess also too, just to kind of bring it back a little bit. So we've been living at 5399 East Highway 114 for over 10 years now. Rome, Texas has been our home, and it was never really ours. We were just renting off that property. It wasn't until my aunt one day that she actually bought the property, and she held it for us for a minute. And then me and my brother have been working essentially literally all our life to get to where we are right now. And God has blessed us with the opportunity to be able to purchase this land. And we did a contract with our aunt to work paying her monthly. And now we got the opportunity to sell part of that to developers. And they approached us, and we are asking to subdivide part of this land. So that part would be sold to them, and that would be right next to us. It's right by the frontage of the 114. So my suspicion is, and after talks with Jim, who is one of their partners, they're gonna use that as part of an entrance for future development. So yeah, amazing opportunity, and yeah, I wanted to present this to y'all in case y'all had any questions as well too. So
you're going to replat it and then sell it to a developer.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be keeping most of it. We're just selling 1.5 to them, and we'll be keeping the rest. We'll still be living there.
Okay, can you kind of fill me in on the where is that?
So it's about like a 6-minute drive from, like 5-minute drive from here. Can you explain that better? He's very
Yeah, it's just if you're going from here heading towards Dallas on 114, and you'd probably take the second U-turn, and it'll be on your right-hand side. If you're going west from 114, if you're coming from Dallas, you're entering into Rome. It's right outside the ETJ, but it is still Rome inside of Wise County, Texas. It's just a small little plot of land, 6.8 acres, and it's right off the highway frontage.
So is it out there by the Troxel people?
Is it? Have you seen like the big like bridge or like
It's
yeah
on
like the
the
metal
right-hand side.
factory
If you're
building?
driving east, it's on the right-hand side, correct?
If you're driving from Dallas into Rome, it'll be on your right hand side.
Oh, it's, okay.
Yes, on the north side, 114.
I don't think so.
No. Oh no. Correct. Have you seen the new factory like Pepco or what's it called? Like yes, right next to it. Yep, right next to there. Yes.
Irwin Steel. Now that's down by Shell Creek, though, isn't it? Are you close to Shell Creek?
Mm, I'm not too certain about the names, but it's right by a steel structure company.
Okay. Well, I think we had a version from the sky.
Yeah.
So young to be such good entrepreneurs.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So what?
So. We're selling 1.5 acres right here. So here's like that factory.
So it's before you get to Bywell or the cement plant. Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Where is it in relation to the east side sewage plant?
I'm not certain.
She's going to show us.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Over here, I think. You can stage.
But you're before they get to Bywell. You're before the cement plant. Are you past the chemical plant or before you get to the chemical plant? Okay. But you guys are going to stay put. You're just going to sell off a
Yeah,
a
yeah,
block
we're just
and a
selling
half,
off
an acre and a
1.5
half.
acres to give them a frontage so that they can build an entrance because they already purchased 136 acres behind us, which would be
Okay.
so. I mean, they already purchased it regardless, so they plan on building something there, and so they approached us so that they can build an entrance to make it easier to reduce traffic, and so that's going to help out so that they don't have to go into Rome, into the city. And so that way it'll be a nice entrance and it'll also help the economy, bring up more jobs. And like y'all said, it'll help out with the roads because, I mean, that's what people are going to come for. As you can see, North Texas is just growing. Hazlitt, like that town blew up in years. And change is going to happen regardless, but yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep. So, it's
It's a public hearing.
It's a public hearing. So, to interrupt what you're saying, um, council, I think it would be beneficial for these gentlemen, because the road coming off of 114 would help alleviate the traffic coming in and out of, if they did not sell this to the developers, that would only allow the traffic to go in and out of Crown Point and across the railroad tracks, off of Hickory. So this would help them, one, for selling. Congratulations if you do. Two, but it would help, the traffic and the residents to come off of. So that is my input.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else who wants to make a comment about it? Yeah, come on up.
Again, I'm Steve Knight. I happen to be the chair of the P&Z, and we looked at this on one of our meetings and sent it on to you for approval. I think it should be in your packet. The P&Z recommended this. We are also doing this for the county of Wise because they are in our ETJ. This is not in the Rome city limits. So we're just doing the paperwork for Wise County doing this public hearing and giving them these replats. We really have no choice in
Yeah,
that.
I wasn't clear about that. So you guys are actually in the ETJ.
They are in the ETJ
Very
according
good.
to what I
Okay.
was told. So, and and I have no idea what developer this is that's buying it. It doesn't make any difference. All we are doing is letting them replat, and that's doing it for Wise County.
Yep.
Does that kind of clear things up as to what the gentlemen are doing? Because they came before us very well prepared and more power to them.
I think they're both very impressive.
Thank
Okay. Any other public comments? Yes.
I think this would be great for the city because the one concern about the Prairie Point development has been what it would do to Crown Point traffic, the railroad crossing, and that's what back in 2016 or 17 when they first presented it, that developer had said he was going to take an exit out to 114. That way they won't be bringing the heavy equipment in to even do that development. They can come off of there. So it's much better for our roads and our citizens in Crown Point will probably love y'all for it. And congratulations to y'all. And I would say just make sure you get top dollar for it because they need that entrance.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Ka-ching. All right. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So
Thank you for your time.
they need a vote for us, from us,
We'll vote when we
to
get
approve the replat, when we get to the
H.
item on the thingy.
So
All
we
right.
just need to close it.
Okay. All right. We're going to close the public hearing on this item at 6:48. Okay, very good. And move on to regular agenda, new business. G, discussion and any necessary action regarding a replat. One tract legally described as acres 3.00, abstract A-817 JC, also known as 401 East Hickory Street, Rome, Texas, 76078. But is this not the one that
We
we
will table
just,
this item.
that we
I
tabled?
would like to say something about
Yes.
that, though. That was published in today's paper, in the notice section. I think there's an error in the description. You might want to check that.
Okay, I'll do so. Thank you.
So we need a motion to table?
Yes, ma'am, in a
Okay.
second.
Need a motion to table that to December 8th.
Motion to table item G to the next agenda.
Second,
I second that.
that was Kathy. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. All right. Discussion, any necessary action regarding a replat, one tract being legally described as acres, tract 21, 6.81330 acres, also known as 5399 Highway 114, Rome, Texas, 76078. We just need a motion to approve that.
Yes, ma'am.
Need a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion.
That's for Priest. Do I have a second?
I have a second, but I'd also like to clear up some information on that. Going back in previous meetings with the developers prior to this mayor and the city administrator, construction traffic going through Crown Point was never an option. The city was hard fast on that, them finding alternate routes going into where they're developing. They were working with TxDOT on creating that entrance off of 114, but as TxDOT does, they're dragging their feet and they're not working very well with them. So by replatting this, it makes it easier for that developer to have that access through this property. Thereby, they don't have to create a new access. So just wanted to clarify that up. No construction will be coming through Crown Point for that development. So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that all five? Gotcha. Okay, move on to the next item. I, discussion and any necessary action regarding ordinance 2022-20 vetoed by the mayor. That was voted on at our last meeting. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have a problem working with the council. My objection, my primary objection to, if the council wants to take over the hiring and whatever with our city personnel, I'm okay with that. My concern with this was the inconsistency, because we did start out with a particular ordinance that had been approved back in two separate occasions in 2018 and based on a certain statute. And so you go with that. And then once we were already through the interview process and making the decision, then now it's no, that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to do it this way and give the authority to the council. I'm okay with the council having the authority, but I think that it was very unfair to the candidates that applied. And it does not appear to be consistent with the hiring process. To be fair, I think the best thing to do is make your ordinance and start all over and give everyone a fair shot at it. Anyway, that's my opinion.
So I'd like to provide a little transparency on this topic since it was obviously brought up a little bit previously. The way that the interview panel and the decision-making process was laid out very clearly in the beginning by our city administrator on how it was going to go with the interview, the appointing, the confirmation. This ordinance is not something that this council wanted to do, but it's something that this council has to do to ensure we have the best qualified employees available to keep the city running and moving in a forward direction. The process of hiring a city administrator is much like that of appointing a Supreme Court justice. The mayor or president appoints a person and they are confirmed or denied by the council or Senate. In this instance, the mayor appointed an individual that the council felt wasn't the strongest candidate of those that were interviewed. So the council unanimously denied the appointment. Much like that of the Bush administration, he appointed someone and the Senate denied. Instead of refusing to appoint another candidate, he went back to his advisors to find someone that both he and the Senate would agree on, unlike our situation. Upon denial of the mayor's original appointment, the mayor refused to appoint any other candidate and refused to compromise. Therefore, a majority of the council was in agreement that we had to take necessary action to continue forward based on the mayor failing to fulfill her obligated duties. Between the past regular meeting and special meeting, the mayor's appointment withdrew from consideration for the position. We then discussed with the mayor the opportunity of appointing a new candidate, at which time she still refused. Upon further discussion, the mayor then appointed a still different candidate than that of the unanimous decision of the interview panel and of the council, thus bringing city business to a standstill as we cannot move forward with hiring a city administrator. In the past, the mayor has mentioned multiple times that we have a divided council, and she is right, yet she is the one dividing us. The 5 council members are unanimous on the candidate best suited for the position, with the mayor refusing to collaborate or compromise with the council. 4 of the 5 interviewers agreed on the candidate, as did the 5 of the council. 9 people in favor of 1 candidate, the mayor being the sole person unwilling to choose the best candidate. Because of these actions, we have had to spend more time and more money on something that should have been an easy decision, thus adding to the 1.2 million possible cost to the city because of personal thoughts and beliefs instead of what is best for the city. Again, this is why we're amending this ordinance, not because we want to, but because we have to, because it's what's best for the city of Rome.
But I'll clarify, I don't have a problem with you amending the ordinance, but I do think it should have been done before the process ever started.
How would we know that you would refuse to appoint anyone other than what we selected?
I
We
made-
didn't know
I
at the time
made-
that we would have to amend this ordinance.
I made the judgment based on, I made what I thought was and I didn't do it lightly. I went home and I slept on it. And I said, I've got to go home and sleep on this before I make a final decision. And so I did. And like I said, but you all should have done the interviewing, to determine which candidate you felt was best. All I'm trying to do is I'd like for us to be consistent. And yeah, I'd like for us to be almost all on the same page, but that's not going to happen, I don't think, But you can change the ordinance. I believe the whole process was inconsistent. The last 2 city administrators were hired by the former mayor, and the council agreed. In fact, one of those applicants came back. And some of us were very impressed with what he had done before. I think some of our folks here will remember the Morris Street project, and he's the one who got to the bottom of it and discovered the problems with that, and they couldn't get it through. But your decision is your decision. But as I say, we could have changed this to begin with, and then you all could have done the interviewing. I wouldn't have even been involved in it. And I'm okay with that. At this point, like I said, it gives the appearance that we're not consistent, and it's I don't know, heard the term. I'm not even going to use the term. I'm not going to throw rocks at anybody. But I think basically as a governing body, though, we do need to be consistent in our policies. And
we would have been consistent if you wouldn't have refused to appoint anyone.
I know, but you turn around and you're just always pointing fingers.
Mayor,
always.
you was not willing
I know I
to
wasn't.
compromise at all. Don't say you went and slept on it. Because the way you acted, you did not compromise with us. I mean, you
But you were opposed to changing the ordinance. And like I said, I'm okay with changing the ordinance.
And I regret, abstaining from that vote. After talking with Carvin, I realized that we're making the right decision.
Okay.
Because the way you want to run it is like a dictatorship. You want to tell us what we are going to approve or confirm.
I don't consider it a dictatorship. Yes, I did make my decision based on, it was my best judgment. Now, every one of you have a judgment of your own, and I have a judgment of my own. I had just gone back, like I said, the guy had applied here before, and he was appointed unanimously. And as I say, he was very favored among our constituents and employees that morning. And, he did make a couple of comments that I was very impressed. He was very astute as far as what's come down as far as legislation. And the one statement that he did make was, happy employees are productive employees. And I was just impressed with those statements. But anyway, we're going to change the ordinance, and you'll do what you want. Okay, make a motion.
or no, actually, you've already done the ordinance. I vetoed it, so you're going to override me. I need a motion.
I so motion.
And I second. Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
That was me.
I'd like a roll call vote, please. McCabe,
Aye.
Ty, Priest,
Aye.
Nesky,
Aye.
Meehan.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to J, discussion and any necessary action regarding fiscal year 2021 and 2022 budget amendments. We've had some, go ahead, I'm going to let you start.
So as was stated earlier, this is the end of the budget year for 2021, 2022. And this is merely aligning each line item so none are in the debit portion. They're negative, none of them are negative. So we move money. And as my example was before, we move it from equipment where we had extra money to the line item that was overdrawn, which was fuel. That's just one example. And all of them are listed in this ordinance. And we do this so that when the outside auditor comes in, he can audit the books from a standpoint before it's overdrawn. Again, I have to reiterate, this is not an emergency situation where we're asking for more money or we've overdrawn the budget. This is we are actually under budget. We did not spend what was budgeted. We were, if my calculation's right, but don't hold me to this because we need the auditor to come in to double check everything. But if I calculated right, we were $100,000 under budget last year, not over. We didn't spend over. There was no 500,000 that we spent. We didn't have to go find money for. We were under budget last year. And what this is to line up all those line items so the auditor can do his work. So what staff is asking is recommending approval of the proposed ordinance.
Got some comments to make because I did go through it too, and I went over and picked up codes and all that. And to be honest with you, I didn't have enough time to really go over this. But we're talking about almost $500,000 in budget amendments. And I was concerned when the budget was put together this year, and I did ask about it publicly at a council meeting as to just how much money we had left over from the year before, because our budget reflected this year's budget, it reflected last year's budget, and it reflected the year before that budget. And basically, I was just asking for, if we can get a rundown on how much we've spent. And, again, according to statute, generally your budget is supposed to reflect what you've got left over in each item. But to be honest with you, I have not had enough time to look this over and match it up to the codes because I just picked up those yesterday because I was trying to decipher how much this was going. And I know that we are dealing with some cost increases as far as with the inflation. But there are some that mentioning what someone else had mentioned about the roof replacement. Anyway, I would ask that the council table this and give us a little more time to review it. And we'll just spend a council meeting and we'll go over each item line by line so that, our public, it's not just us or me. I think our constituents need to know how, we're supposed to be stewards of their money. And I think our constituents need to know how the money is being budgeted and then managed. That's another point, about carrying over money that's left over from the year before. But it's been a few years since I've seen a budget that did that.
Well, I have several comments to make.
Mm-hmm.
One of those is one of the reasons we had an excess is because we had so many people quit, and so they didn't get paid, and so we had so that's part of the extra money. The other thing is that in order to finalize the budget, one of the things that you have to do is you have to let all the checks clear the banks. And then you have to reconcile all of those. And so there's a delay. It can't be, on September the 30th. It can't, you still have outstanding information that has to come in. So the timeliness of it is, it's not trying to shortchange anybody. It's just the system and how we are, vulnerable to that. We have to wait. We have to wait till all of that information comes in and all of the invoices come in that are for September and previous work. And so it is a process for us to do that. My question would be, if we do table this, is that going to cause us any heartburn with getting ready for the audit or anything like that? Is that something that we can give the mayor an extra, well, it's going to be a month.
Not just for me, but for the council to take a look at it and compare it with the, these different accounts.
So, like we're, we've said a number of ways. There's not additional expenditures other than making these adjustments for things that changed in life. Our budget is a living document. It is not stagnant. So we have to make these changes to show when real life came along and affected our budget. Increase of gasoline is certainly applicable to most any operation, any business operation, for example. So I'm just saying, is that going to put us in any sort of situation by making that kind of a delay?
There is an ordinance that says we have to get this done by a certain date, but I don't know what that is. We do have to do it before we can get the auditor to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so if y'all would like to, we can go line item by line item. I may not have all the information, but we can do it right here tonight. I mean, that's, with Shane and I, here to answer questions, we're absolutely happy to do that if that's what y'all would like to do.
I don't have my list of codes here, though. I need my list of codes.
The codes are listed on the sheet that you've been provided.
I know, but I've got a sheet that says 10 and 10 is such and such, and 10 and 20, and then if it goes to 30 or if it's 40.
Oh, I can explain that. Or Shana can
yeah.
explain that.
I would prefer to table it. No, that's okay. That's all right. Hold on to it. To table it and do it at the next council meeting, please.
Well, I guess we could, I mean, I'm just talking here. We could table it, and if we get into a situation where we're crowding that date, then we could call a special meeting. I mean, we're not going to miss these dates. Since we don't know
what is the date?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I said I wasn't sure. I know there's a deadline, but I'm not sure what it is. Typically, the audit is done in November. That's why I was trying to get that scheduled.
So what does anybody else think?
Like staff said, this isn't anything new. We do amendments in every city across the country all year long. It's just like at home. If your one bill goes up, you got to pull from another pocket to pay another bill. Again, we're not spending any money. We're not taking in any new money. We're just balancing out the checkbook is all it is. So I don't think that we need to postpone this because this happens every year at this time to be able to get the budget done so that the auditor can come in. So.
If it were a matter of even $50,000, I probably wouldn't bat an eye, but we're talking about $500,000 on this.
But again, it's not new money going out or coming in. It's just
I understand that
evening everything
but,
out.
For example, I'm just looking at one street repairs. We took out of the account for street repairs, put it into contract labor, $43,766 to pay for the separation agreement with the former city administrator. Those were street repairs. And it's just several things. That's why I say I'd like to go through it on a line item basis. Yeah, it's right there. That's just one of the examples.
What are y'all's thoughts, Kathy, Patrick?
I understand what you're saying, because we're just trying to balance. Okay.
Hey, Deborah, if you want to bring that paper up here with the code so the mayor can have it, and why don't we go over it now? Let's not
Okay.
keep putting this off.
All right. Okay, thanks. Okay.
I mean, if you
I'm
want to
gonna
go
let you
over every
it
one
and
or the
tell us
ones you
from what
just said.
account it's coming out of and going into where.
Well, if you'll look down the row and just, which ones do you have questions about? The ones that say 10 and then they have a bunch of numbers and then 50, that's all
I was
police.
concerned about the ones that are very, very high, the legal fees. 14,000, 13,000.
Sure.
1,400.
So legal fees
And those came out of everything from dues
ma'am.
and subscriptions, engineering services, animal control, inspection fees,
Do you want me to take these one at a
and
time or do you?
postage and Medicare expenses. Not very much out of that, but our budget for last year's legal fees were the same as the budget for this year, but we've already exceeded those by far.
The numbers listed online for last year and the year before were actuals. Those were what was spent. And so that was what this year's budget was based on with minor
With
adjustments.
with the legal fees, no, $96,000 was budgeted. And even by June, we were already, by the beginning of June, we were up to $162,000 because Ms. Northrup, I brought it up, and Ms. Northrup had a chart that had the amounts on there. But we've
No, I
since
don't
June,
think that's correct, Mayor. I don't think we were at 162 in June.
and then, yeah, because it was on, you can go back to the council meeting, but it was in June, because I brought it up because I was concerned about the legal fees.
Right.
And
So,
then she
hey,
had
if
it all
y'all can hold it
divided.
down, we got to have business here. So legal fees are affected by a lot of different things. And here's just one example that I was going over the legal fees just this week in the office because I'm a little concerned about them as well. But we have to basically double check our work through the law firm. And a lot of this is driven by what we just have to do. For example, we had one open records request that asked for documents that we had to refer to the attorney. That one open records request was $1,500 in legal fees. This year we've had, I don't know how many open records requests. They don't all go to the attorney, but the ones that do cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. That's just the price of doing business when people are filing all these open records requests. That's just one example. Unfortunately, we have to pay the attorneys to do this business for us.
I also want you guys to understand that the legal fees, while they look high, they're also covered by escrow accounts. So when we have developers that come in, they are providing the money that covers those legal fees. So what was originally budgeted in legal fees versus the amendment is, so we went over $20,000 essentially, which is a lot less than what it sounds like.
So to Ms. Odom's point, what she's saying is a lot of times when you see legal fees, that money is not coming out of our bottom line budget. When a developer comes in to build, we'll just take RVR for example, they put, and I'll just throw a number out there, I don't know what this is, so don't hold me to this, but they'll put say $50,000 into an escrow account. Then when we have to use the attorney to do something on their project, the money comes out of that. We're paying it. I mean, we have to pay that bill when it comes in, but it comes out of money that's already been allotted and given to us, fronted to us by the developer. And that's the same thing with engineering fees. Engineering fees will oftentimes look higher than they really are because we're taking money out of an escrow account that the developer set up and put money into. It still looks like we're paying the money out of our budget because we are. Can't talk to you, Mr. Moore. You can't. Unfortunately, that's not how it works.
The roof replacement, another thing that I saw?
Roof replacement is
Mhm.
covered by insurance.
Okay.
I believe, actually, after looking at the adjustment that's listed on here, I believe it is listed incorrectly. It should be listed, roof replacement. It should not come out of Walnut Creek. It should actually come out of the water miscellaneous revenue because we received a check from the insurance company that was deposited into the miscellaneous revenue account.
So that needs to be corrected.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the other thing is, and I was confused by this myself, on that same page up at the top, there's a charge of $75,382.23, unforeseen emergency repairs, sewer line on First Street and Love's pump replacement. And as I recall, though, when that occurred, at least for the First Street, it was around 58 or 68,000, $60,000. And the motion was made based on the recommendation of the former city administrator that they didn't take it out of water sewage, it was taken out of general fund savings at that time. But now it appears that we're taking it out of the Walnut Creek SUD, but I'm wondering what happened if they took it out of general fund before and put it into to paying for the repairs. How now it's coming out of Walnut Creek SUD and going into emergency repairs. But it seems to me that that should have been the way that it happened to begin with, or coming out of the water sewage.
Unfortunately, we neither of us can speak to that because that was done before we were in charge of it.
Okay.
Now, the Love's pump replacement, those were the lift station pumps outside of Love's for the wastewater to be pumped over to the West wastewater treatment plant. Those pumps were aging, and we got lucky that one failed, but one pushed us through, and then they had to ship them from overseas, and they got them in the nick of time. Luckily, our public works employees, Chris and Jesse, were able to it's okay. We're able to get that done. So that's an unforeseen repair. One thing I hope that our next city administrator does, I hope that whoever that is will put us on a path of calendar replacements where you schedule that, so you don't wait for the pump to fail. You put it on a schedule, replacement schedule, so you replace it on a capital project that you do over 5 or 8 years. You plan ahead so you don't run into that where you're doing it at the last minute.
So what happened to the money that came out of general fund?
There was no money taken out of general fund. Do you happen to know when that motion was made, Mayor?
Off the top of my head, I could not tell you. At least these two people would have been here at the time. It was when those repairs were going on. It was when the repair got done over on First Street. And in fact, it was Josh McCabe who made the motion. Well, Cynthia Northrop brought it up, and it was Josh McCabe that made the motion. I don't remember who seconded. I'm sorry, what? Sean Densmore was here, yes. So it had to have been before May. No, no, I'm very cold. No. What would we have? Well, I don't know if it's turn it down or pump it up, but it's cold.
General.
I'm gonna motion to table this till next council meeting.
Please.
Need be. We'll have a special.
Can we check through it and just point out the questions that you guys have so we know what we're looking for to provide clarification?
Well,
Well, after I've had a chance to
if,
look at it, we can probably go through it pretty quick. I may even come see
Well,
you.
we got a whole month, so I mean, that's definitely, I would think, enough time for the mayor to get up to talk to this interim city administrator to.
It affects all of us. I mean, I realize the bottom line is still the bottom line, but it affects all of us. You know, it's $500,000, and that's a lot of money to be off with the budget, I think. Anyway, but if I can get a motion to table, I'd be grateful.
A motion table next city council meeting.
I second that. Sorry, hang on just one second. Okay. I'm sorry, where was the second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that all five? Okay, very good. All right, the next one goes to Mrs. Priest. Discussion and any necessary action regarding transparency, oath of office, code of conduct, and closed sessions.
I'd like to table this for a later meeting.
Okay. Make that motion.
I don't think it takes a motion. I'm just asking to table it. Just take a motion.
I just tabled
It's your own
something and had to
item.
get a motion. If it's her item. Okay. All right, discussion, any necessary action regarding performance of mayoral duties. It's also yours.
Thank you. The reason that I've asked to have this on the agenda is because I'm very concerned about the execution of city operations. That is our job. That is what we are elected to do, is to take care of city business in an expeditious manner and to meet all of our obligations, whether it's to pay our bills or to meet deadlines as we work with other entities such as the county and the state and the federal government. We are also charged with taking care of business so that we provide health and safety for our citizens, and the services that we provide are going to happen in a timely manner. And so that is what has prompted me to approach this subject. And one of the things that I want to also emphasize is that it has come up a number of times in a number of ways that on August the 4th, that the city council took some action that brought up that we needed the mayor pro tem to have the ability to do the same duties as the mayor. I would like you to know that that's not something we made up. It is actually a municipal code that you can look up and read for yourself, and that is number 22-037. And so the purpose of that was really more about transparency. We had already had some issues with the mayor not signing documents. And those documents, and one of those, I'll just throw this out there, was we had had long discussions about the number of police cars, how long it took to get them, what the deadline was, and then we had a contract with PMB or RVR, whatever you, RVR, and that was an obligation that we had to get those things ordered. She wouldn't sign that, and we had a deadline, and so that was it was, and there were some other things that weren't signed, and so we brought that up that night, that there were things that were not being taken care of, and that the mayor pro tem was going to step up whenever those things happened. And that was transparency and saying to the public, we've had this problem, but you should know that we are going to do whatever it takes to keep things moving in a timely fashion because of our responsibilities to government and the responsibilities to our citizens and our community, especially to do with health, safety, obligations, financial obligations, etc. So I just want to be clear what happened that night and what that was about. It is not something that council should be blamed for. It was just a restatement of the 22-037. So now, as I've been doing this for a few years, and I've never seen anything quite like that. I don't have the experience to see why we have these difficulties in meeting the needs of doing business. And so I'm here to ask, help me understand. Help me understand, Mayor, why you repeatedly refuse to sign important documents that actually can stop, can delay our city operations. Help me understand.
Okay. August 4th, this is a good example that's right here in our agenda package. The ordinance the one I vetoed and that they just motioned on, it's got signature ready here, signed by Josh McCabe, Mayor Pro Tem. So do I override Josh McCabe or do I arm wrestle him for it? It's things like this. It's been very confusing for me too, Mrs. Priest, because I know in the contract with the interim city administrator that was also signed by Josh McCabe. That was prepared for Josh McCabe's signature, and but it stipulates in there that the interim city administrator answers to him, not to me. So to be honest with you, I've been a bit confused myself. Yes, there have been a couple of things that I just can't sign off with a clear conscience, that I those contracts would have been one. I would not have been able to have signed those with a clear conscience, much less passing off the money on it.
Well, the one that you have in your hand, that's one that you vetoed, so obviously you are not in favor of that. So that's probably why his name's on there.
Okay. Well,
I'm just,
Mrs. Priest, I don't have two horns and a tail. And that's kind of how it's come down to that. And I really am a very reasonable person, and I can listen to things. And yeah, I do have definitive ideas about certain things. And yeah, but we're not moving anywhere. We're not we're stagnating, and if anything, we keep going backwards because it's always animus or it's beyond disagreement. So,
well, let me ask you another.
At this point, Josh McCabe has the same authority that I do.
And by that municipal code, that is true. So that's not that, like, once again, I'll repeat the third time. It's not something the city council made up. It is something that is a state statute, a municipal code. And so that's that. So have you been aware that when you don't sign those resolutions, like for the fire chief when he retired and we had a resolution and you wouldn't sign that, and then there was a resolution we had to, he was the emergency official, and so when he retired, then that meant that we had to appoint someone else in the interim till we can get a fire chief hired, and you wouldn't sign
If
that.
I have uncertainty, yeah, I will hesitate. Because
And
my name's on there. And if there's any problem, it's got my name on it. Why was that a problem?
I'd have to go back and look at the document to be sure, but I thought that I'd gotten something later on that said the mayor was the emergency officer. So I don't know, and I'm still learning my job.
All right. So, but are you aware when you don't educate yourself and you choose not to sign those things such as our budget that had to be certified so that we could get it over to the county? That would be another thing that you refuse to sign. Are you aware that when you don't execute and follow the direction, especially that budget was a unanimous vote from the city council? That is a breach of your office. Do you not, did you ever think about that?
The budget, I had asked for the actual numbers to be put on there, not just the budget from the numbers from the year before. And that I read it aloud at the council meeting what the statute said, and it said you've got to have those numbers, that you have to show what's carried over from year to year. It also had in the statute where it the where you have to have the actual numbers of what was actually spent. And I understand that you can only estimate to a point because the fiscal year wasn't over just yet. But we sat here at a council meeting. Carvin Adkins was here, and I said, "Is this correct, Mr. Adkins?" And he said, "I don't know. I'll have to look it up." And so that's where we were on that. But as I say, perhaps it's been a good thing that you appointed Josh McCabe to pick it up.
Well, and there has been some confusion about, there was a lot of discussion that night about the itemized situation. That document, as we looked at our forecasted budget.
Councilmember Ty has something to say.
Okay, yes, please.
Councilmember Ty, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So I believe that Mr. Atkins clarified that and said that there was nothing wrong with the way the budget was presented. Can he?
I'd have to go back and listen to it. I just remember asking him point blank about that statute, and he said he would have to look it up.
Hang on, we have Mr. Atkins on the line. Mr. Atkins, you there? Carvin, you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you give some clarity to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That night I was not familiar with what the mayor was asking about the budget, but when I went back and reviewed it, yes, the council and the staff had met every requirement under state law of the statute under Chapter 102 of Municipal Finance.
Thank you. Ms. Ty, did you have anything else?
No, I just wanted to clarify that.
So I guess it's back to me. All right. Okay. So I've sat here and tried to somehow, I am generally the peacemaker. I can't help it. I'm the Pollyanna. I am the one that thinks that everybody with enough information will come to the same conclusion. But what we cannot do any longer is to have these matters that are holding up city operation. We cannot do it. And so what I'm after here is that these documents get signed, they get signed in a timely fashion, that we can get rid of these breaches of duty and offenses of breaking the oath of office, to comply with all the codes and the laws and the ordinances and all those things that are out there that we have to deal with on a regular basis. because the public does not understand any excuse that we might have for not taking care of business. And so that has been my greatest concern. And so I just want us all to be aware of that when we don't do our duties, we put our employees at risk, we put our standards at risk, we put ourselves at risk because there is a code of conduct here. And there was a lot of talk about the code of conduct whenever we put that ordinance into effect. And the biggest argument was, well, that ordinance doesn't have any teeth. Well, it doesn't have any teeth. It was never about punishment for not doing your job. It was all about the integrity of elected personnel and officials, whether you're appointed or elected. And so it's all about good and proper behavior. Do I want to censor anybody? No. Do I want to be censored? No, I don't. But we've got to get past this point. And so, Mayor, I'm just trying to understand why we can't seem to get, it seems that you have decided you're not going to sign things you don't agree with, and that you're not allowed to do that. You must carry out what the city council has voted, and especially when it's unanimously. That is your job, and that's the oath that you took. You said that you would faithfully execute, and even the President of the United States has to live up to that. And so, whatever it takes for you to understand so that you will meet those deadlines and get them signed, I will do whatever I can do to make sure you have that information. Staff is at your beckon to make sure you understand those things. But to not sign them because you don't like them worries me. And so I hope that we can find a better way and middle ground to make this happen. But I cannot, in my my conscience, after being almost 5 years on the city council and taking this oath more than one time, I cannot ignore that this is a problem and that it's very real and risky for our city. And I can't do that. I've conditioned myself to educate myself, to research stuff, and to do the right things for the right reasons and in the right way. And the right way is that we need you to sign these things so we can get on with our work. That's my statement.
Anyone else? As I say, this ordinance here, it's already, it does have Josh McCabe on it, Mayor Pro Tem. It's not prepared for my signature.
Once you veto the ordinance, your signature isn't required for it.
Okay. Okay. So, anything else? Thank you for sharing that with me, Ms. Irvin. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Discussion and any necessary action regarding Ellis Homestead Road project. And I did bring that up because I had spoken with Mr. Martucci earlier this week. Can you kind of give us an update, please, Interim City Administrator?
Yes, ma'am. Here we go. So the chip seal was laid down. We gave it a few weeks for it to meld in. I contacted Precinct 3, asked them, is there something we can do since it's not hot now and it's not going to meld any further? They came out and removed a loose rock from the roadway. It's more passable now. There's not nearly as much loose rock, and that was taken to the East Wastewater Treatment Plant and placed there because it belongs to the city. And now we just wait.
So there won't be any, I was looking for possible remedies um, that Mr. Mortucci had brought up, and I'd seen also some comments on the City of Rome Facebook page about it. So, but if that's going to take care of it, or we can revisit it at a later time. I mean, I said from the beginning when you guys approved the interlocal, that was May the 18th, I think. And I said, we got to do right by our Ellis neighbors. We want to do right by them. So, but if it's okay for now, and we need to revisit it again.
You can put it on the agenda anytime and it'll be revisited.
Okay. So there's nothing more that we could, on our part that we could do at this time.
Other than allotting money toward it. No, we just wait now. It's the road is passable. It should get better with the dust. Now that it's all the extra loose rock, or most of the loose rock has been removed. That should greatly improve the dust situation. And now you just wait for it to meld even further. That was the only cost effective option we had. To asphalt that road, which is the second step, or the next step above that, would have been at least triple. And I talked to Wise County about that to see if that'd be an option, and they don't offer that service. We would have to go to a third party, and that's going to raise costs exponentially when you hire someone outside. We were lucky or fortunate to partner with Wise County to have this done for cost of materials alone.
All right, we'll go on to the next one. N, discussion and any necessary action regarding waiver of conflict. And that's the interim city administrator.
So the summary background on this is the City of Rome and the City of Aurora have begun talks regarding an interlocal cooperative agreement for law enforcement services, which is going to be item O, as in ocean. Because we both cities retain the services of the Toast law firm, what we need is a consent to common representation. Basically, when two cities have the same law firm, let's say we were in some sort of litigation, we obviously wouldn't want to use the same law firm that's defending them or whoever the plaintiff and defendant is. In this situation, we're entering into an interlocal cooperative agreement. So this is an agreement between us that will have to be ratified by both councils before it would ever go into effect. So we're confident that the attorneys can look it over and will do right by both cities. And so that's what we're asking here is that you'll just allow staff is recommending approval from council for Chief Eric Debus to execute a consent to common representation. That makes sense. So this isn't the contract. This isn't the policing contract. This isn't the interlocal agreement. This just says when we write one, which we've already written one, you have that as well. It's going to have to go to the attorneys for them to review it. Well, since we both employ the same attorney, we have to have a conflict waiver saying, yeah, we're good with that they can look it over for us. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what we're asking. Again, let me reiterate, this is not the contract. Okay, this is not the contract. This is a waiver, a cooperative waiver. This is a waiver of conflict. I'm not sure how I can make that any more clear.
I motion to approve the waiver of conflict.
I second that.
Who was the second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that all five? Yep. Okay. All right. Next thing up is discussion regarding interlocal agreement with Aurora for police services. That's also the interim city administrator.
So we're asking for no action on this item. This is merely just for you guys to talk about this and bring up any concerns or questions you have or comments so the way this came out was we were contacted by the city of Aurora that said we would be interested in a local agency providing part-time police protection for us. They asked us, along with some other agencies. Before we even went down that road, I just asked each individual council member if they were even interested in us pursuing the talks or the interest in that. All council members said, yeah, go talk to them, see what they have to say. And so we entered into this. We are now 2 or 3 months down the road. We have discussed providing part-time police protection for them, which is in the contract that is in your packet. We haven't ratified it. We're not asking you to ratify it tonight. We just wanted to get it out there in front of the public for y'all to be able to see. Again, transparency is key. This is a city that's asking for our help. We believe, after discussions with our command staff and with the numbers, we believe that we can do this. But we've also written the contract in a way that allows us to get out of the contract fairly quickly if we think it's not a good idea. So the contract price is $50,000, but what it's done, it's been broken down into quarters. So it would be $12,500 per quarter. If we get 3 months into this and we say this is too, we've overextended here, I really don't think we have, because we've really put a lot of thought into this. But if we do get 3 months into this and think it's taking too much of our time, it's not a good fit for us, or vice versa, if Aurora says, my gosh, what are we getting for our money? It's not enough. They can do the same thing. So we've built these safeguards into this contract so that we are able to exit out with, I believe it's a 60-day notification. I don't think that will happen. We've discussed this at length and talked about how we would go about having this happen and how we'd make this work. And I think it will benefit us as far as our police budget goes. And then it'll also benefit the neighbors to our west who are very excited about seeing the Rhome Police Department help them out.
And as it is, what is it, the services we're going to provide for this 50,000, what does that include?
So the gist of it is 16 to 20 hours per week.
That's patrolling.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And call response.
Okay.
So 16 to 20 hours, an officer would drive through their city and provide a level of presence and protection. We would also do traffic enforcement there, as well as any call response.
And how many calls do they get?
Wise County couldn't provide us the number, so we had to go anecdotally, and I relied on the officers that have been here for many years. We rarely hear calls dispatched to Aurora, and so we believe that it would be far less than what we're doing now. And that would be included. Let's say we got a call for an alarm in Aurora. Well, the 20 minutes we're over there would count toward the 16 to 20 hours per week that we would provide them. In the event that we got into a situation of a major incident, say God forbid, a murder that took a lot of time, we've built that into the contract that they would pay for the overtime hours required to work that scene, pass through costs. If it costs us $500 for the officer to work that scene overtime, then it would be passed through to them. We don't expect that to happen, if at all, certainly very rarely, but that is built into the contract as well.
Will you answer calls to the Aurora ETJ as well? Or just Aurora proper?
Just the city of Aurora.
So I'd have to go through this individually because
we don't answer calls to the ETJ of Rhome. We certainly wouldn't answer calls to the ETJ of Aurora.
Because I got a sheet. Many of these addresses are, like Old Base Road, that's Aurora Vista, here's Aurora Vista. Of the calls that the sheriff department has answered within the last fiscal year. And there's quite a few. There's for a period of a year, comes up to about 900 calls. And
is that in the city or in the ETJ?
I didn't get it. I don't have it separated, but most of this it does look like most of it's in the city.
I don't think that'd be correct. That would be 3 calls a day, and I don't believe that's correct.
Yeah, well, I counted it up as 18 calls a week. I just don't want to overextend us or that, put our taxpayers into a position that we are subsidizing. We want to be good neighbors. Don't get me wrong. Yes, we do need to be good neighbors, but I don't want to get us into a position where, our taxpayers are subsidizing
And like,
our good neighbors.
like Chief said, if there's any overtime, it's in the contract where Aurora's gonna have to pay for it. And if we start overextending ourselves, you give them the 60-day notice and we withdraw from the contract. Pretty simple.
But we're not making a decision on it tonight.
No, correct.
Any other comments?
I just think it, kind of makes sense that we're helping out, basically our neighbor. If we make sure our neighbor's kept safe, then, it kind of helps keep us safe. Not only that, but I think everybody's aware that Aurora is going through a lot of trouble lately with the city hall and everything that they got going on. So they could definitely use some help over in that area. And I think that, if we were going through the same thing, that we would hope that, one of our neighbors would help us out. So, but I've talked with Eric on this and on the 50,000, and basically that's going to cover all the maintenance and the gas and everything on the vehicles. So that's something that would help benefit the budget, just because now we don't have to budget for as much because we basically being reimbursed for it. But also, like you said, breaking it down into the quarter, 3 months is not a long time. That's just barely getting started. And if we get to that 3-month mark, and I'm sure he's going to rely on our officer saying, look, is this benefiting, Rome and Aurora? Is it working out for everybody? And if they say yes, then I'm sure we'll keep going. But if they say no, we can't handle it, then we say, okay, I'm sorry, but maybe we need to renegotiate some more money, or y'all pay a full-time officer or something like that. But I think this is good for both sides on this one.
Any other comments? He said we didn't need a decision tonight.
No, this is strictly for discussion. We'll bring it to council probably next month for ratification.
Going to the next item. P, discussion any necessary action regarding appointment of city administrator.
Well, I think we've all kind of discussed this, and clearly all 5 of us on the council, we've met with this candidate in pairs, the interview panel, the breakfast that the city held. Based on the experience, the interview, I think this is the best candidate. We're lucky to come by this candidate based on talking with people that have worked with her. People know her. They have nothing but good things to say. So at this time, I would like to motion to appoint Amanda DeGan as the Rome City Administrator.
And I'll second that.
For the record, this motion will also have to include that you are empowering the interim city administrator to enter into negotiations for a contract for the city permanent city administrator, which will then be brought back before council for ratification.
Yes, I missed that part. So, appointment and authorizing our interim city administrator to negotiate a contract to be brought back to city council.
And just for clarification, I just want to be sure that all of that's contingent upon vetting, background checks, agreeing on the salary and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, ma'am. All of that would be included.
Just want to be sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
Have a roll call vote, please. McCabe,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Priest,
Aye.
Kineski,
Aye.
Meehan. Thank you.
All right. Is it still necessary to go to executive session?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't think so. No, ma'am.
All right. I think that's a wrap. Motion to adjourn.
Anybody got a motion?
I'll motion adjourn.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, who was my second? Kathy, you were the second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 7:54, this meeting is adjourned. They're supposed to be